Rick Witter from Shed 7, you join us just before making your way to Glasgow once again to take part in Transmit Festival. You've had a long association with this city. What do you remember about your kind of early visits to Glasgow?
Um, we always absolutely love coming up there, genuinely. We've done so many great gigs up there. I remember the first time doing King Tut's, which was incredible. In fact, the very first time we played Glasgow or anywhere in Scotland was at King Tut's, and we were supporting a band called Compulsion on a nationwide tour. So I do remember. I think Dolphin, our second single, had just come out. Um, but we were supporting, and I think most of the crowd were obviously there to see Compulsion, and they were just round the corner where the bar area is in King Tut's. So there was only like a smattering of people actually watching us. And I think we played Dolphin as the first ever song on Scottish soil. And at the end of that song, there was a little bit of applause, and then somebody swore quite loudly and then wished that they had a gun. So we thought, oh my goodness me, well, this isn't going to go down too well. But ever since then, we've had such a lovely, lovely time up there, and everyone's so nice and respectful and knows good music when they hear it.
Yeah. One of the one of the benefits of still King Tut celebrates 35 years this year, and like having a venue like that local bands can still start out at, and then they build themselves up, and then they go for the Barrowlands, and then they go for things like Transmit, and even in the life of Transmit, there's bands that have started off on the King Tut stage and made it to the main stage or to headline like Lewis Capaldi and Jerry Cinnamon. Um, like, was it pretty important in terms of your journey as a band that there was those network that welcomed you in at first, that that you were able to build things up, and then before you know it, you're on top of the pops and the world's your oyster?
Yeah, totally. And I think it still is so important. But the sad thing is, so many of these smaller venues are actually going, and it doesn't bode well for the future for young kids who just want to pick up a guitar or play a keyboard in front of the mates and see what happens. It's such an important part of a life's kind of tragedy. It's where you learn what you do.
Yeah,
You can be in your hometown and you can be in each other's bedrooms or in a rehearsal space, but to stand on a stage says a lot about if you want to carry on doing it for a start. And then obviously with us, when we started to get a bit of a name, we were up and down the country playing all of these really small venues, and it's character building, and it instills that faith if you really still want to do it after playing in certain venues. So it's really important. And as I say, it's sad that so many of these venues around the country are disappearing. um, and yes, certainly it's a stepping stone to getting where you really want to be, as you say.
you still return to the Barrowlands. Is that a venue that you like, you kind of like enjoy the relationship that you have with the fans there, because like the fans are right on top of you, and they're singing along. They even sing the guitar parts in Glasgow, Rick.
Yeah, they really do. Yeah, it's such an incredible venue. I mean, you hear this a lot by loads of different bands, but the Barrowlands is always name checked. But there's something about that room. It's kind of magical. You can sense it even before you've arrived. You can just sense how great it's going to be. I mean, obviously we play the Academy as well, and we would do that ordinarily because the promoters feel that we can sell more tickets. So obviously it's a win-win for everybody. And that's a great venue as well, but that's more like a cavernous hall, isn't it? Whereas the Barrowlands, you can just see the whites of everyone's faces, just even the stars on the ceiling. It's just, and obviously the springy dance floor. There's just something magical about that place. Everyone just looks like they're having the best time. And yeah, if you're going to start singing the guitar solos, then you can't go wrong, can you?
The starting out in King Tut's and being in that situation where you're supporting, like you'll come to a festival like Transmit and you'll be bringing your own audience, but there's an element that you have to grab people's attention. There could be someone just wandering around at the back looking for chips, but you want to try and grab their attention as much as anything else. Do you approach festivals in a bit of a, you know, combat kind of like uh, headspace where you want to go out there and really kind of grab people's attention? Because you've got a very tight window to do your thing.
Yeah, that. I mean, in the 90s, I didn't really enjoy doing festivals for that very reason. I
Oh,
always
yeah, yeah.
always felt that we're here, so why aren't you watching? And it was always a little bit kind of disappointing when you can see people at the back wandering from one stage to another and not really showing any interest in what we're doing. So I never really enjoyed festivals way back in the day because of that. But now I cherish them, and I look forward to doing it because of what you've just said. I want to prove it to people, and I want people to stop in the tracks and go, "Who's that?"
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
the biggest buzz out of doing any gig really is people leaving going, well, that was incredible, I'll go back and watch that again. So I find it really important to just put as much effort as possible into every show we ever do, wherever we might be. And I think we're quite lucky because we've been doing it for so long that it doesn't really matter where we are now, in the sense that we could be we could be playing somewhere on a drizzly Monday night, but the atmosphere in that room is just as good as what it could be in a huge city on a Saturday night. You know, I think people just love the fact that we're there and they're going to hear those songs. You know, it's funny because we did take a little pause for a while in the early noughties. We took about 4 years off. So when we kind of came back in 2007, some of the songs that we were playing are like 12, 13 years old at that point. And the excitement that we were back in that room playing songs like On Standby or Going for Gold, and everyone was singing every word back, was quite a shock for us, because we had no idea that we'd left some kind of mark on people's growing up, you know. So the fact that fast forward so many years later and they're still doing it is just absolutely amazing. So we don't take anything for granted anymore. You know, when you're in your 20s and you're swanning around thinking you're the best band in the world, you take things for granted because you think the next day is going to bring something equally as good. And then suddenly it stops. And it's like, well, where did all that go? So nowadays, we're enjoying all the success that's coming at us, and we're remembering it a lot more than we ever would have done. So,
Yeah.
and long may that continue. But yeah, Transmit, an amazing thing to come up and do. The last time we played it a few years ago, I remember the sun was beaming down. It was a really glorious day, and there was just thousands of people looking like they were having an ace time. So fingers crossed for all of that again.
When you come up to Glasgow, is it a case of just being kind of shipped in and shipped out, or have you ever actually had like a chance to kind of have a wander about, go to record shops or go to pubs or any of
Yeah,
that kind of stuff?
we have in the past quite a lot. You know, I do love wandering around the city, and there's been plenty of times over the years where I've perhaps drank a little bit too much and become a little bit worse for wear. But you know, hey ho, it's part of the
Yeah.
deal, isn't it? It's a rock and roll environment. But I do remember going to, I think we played the Garage once in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
And I remember there was a club night on after it, and we all went to that and were meeting people and dancing and having fun. And then I just seem
Yeah.
to remember being on the floor looking up at people. So I think that was the time to think, right, I better go now.
Yeah. Sounds quite cinematic though. And the garage is where I used to dance to Disco Down pretty much every Thursday night. So
Right,
yeah,
great. Yeah,
you were in home turf at the garage, put it
yeah,
that way.
brilliant. So were they doing the actual Disco Down dance off the
Well,
video?
I was. I don't know if I can't speak
It's
for it. I can't speak for everyone.
amazing.
Um,
See, we
so
did that as a bit of a tongue-in-cheek joke, obviously. We were kind of thinking, because this is way into our career at this point, this is
yeah,
19.
yeah.
We spent 2 days learning that dance routine, and we went to that Pineapple Studios in London, which is quite a big, renowned dance studio, and we had a
Yeah.
proper dancing instructor. And I think he had a little bit more, he had better moves for us, but I think after about an hour, he realised wasn't going to work. So that was kind of a watered down dance routine. But our kind of buzz from that was thinking, if this is going to be shown on the telly anywhere and nobody's heard of Shed 7, they might think we're a new boy band with just a really awful sense of dance.
You've had an extraordinary couple of years, like you're probably as an exciting point of the Shed Seven journey as it's ever been, like with the reaction to the last album, the shows that you're doing, the size of the crowds that you're getting. Does it give you guys like a new kind of renewed sense of purpose?
Yeah, massively so. I think we probably are now bigger than we've ever been. Weirdly, I mean, it's taken a long time. I think Shed 7 should be added to school curriculums just for self belief, never giving up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think to be fair, a lot of people will probably think that's just come from nowhere, but it hasn't. We've built this up over probably about 15 years. We've been touring and touring, and then eventually decided to release some new music, which we were a kind of a little bit, will people like this? But, we'd never dream of releasing any new material unless we were 100% into what we were doing. And we kind of knew with the Instant Pleasures album in 2017, which was the first new material for like 16 years or something, with songs like Better Days and Room in My House, we knew that we'd win over our existing fan base, and then the idea is to try and spread the word far and wide. And then fast forward to the last album last year, A Matter of Time. It's all culminated, but it's taken a long time and a lot of hard work to get there. So we all feel really proud of what we've done, but equally, to start breaking records is quite unbelievable, really. So, after being around for so long. So I just wonder what it's going to be like in another 30 years. God knows how big we'll be.
Um, what do you do for a festival show? I mean, like obviously, because you've got like a body of hits that people will be expecting, but obviously you want to kind of drop in kind of interesting things and stuff that you've been working on.
Yeah, well, we do that. I mean, I don't really want to give too much away about what we've been doing this summer, but equally, that's difficult because somebody films everything these days online. But yes, we like to throw in the odd cover version, something slightly off the wall. Um, we add little bits to certain existing songs, but people will see this if they come to Transmit. But at the end of the day, if you've got an hour, it's very difficult. I call it our happy problem. If you've only got an hour to play, I mean, what do you not play is our problem. So we sit and argue for half an hour about which songs to drop from the set. And then we all kind of come to some kind of agreement, but there's certain songs that we couldn't not play, and we're very lucky that that's about at least 10 songs that we just would have to play ordinarily because people would be really disappointed. I mean, you can never please everyone. I mean, loads of people always say, why don't you play that very early B-side? But you cater a crowd of about 20 people there out of about 4,000 watching you. So it's a difficult one. Maybe we should do like an early B-sides tour just to cater for those fans, but perhaps only 50 people turn up.
You could go back to King Tut's and there might still be people standing at the bar.
We could do that, yeah.
So I was watching Glastonbury at the weekend and Franz Ferdinand brought out Peter Capaldi as their guest.
Yes.
If you were to bring out any Glasgow musician or band to guest with Shed 7, who do you think it would be?
Well, do you know what? When I was about 17, I was a huge Soup Dragons fan. And I'm talking Soup Dragons before they kind of went baggy and did the I'm Free song. I'm talking their debut album, This Is Our Art. And before that, when they were really kind of buzzcocky, they were songs like Hang 10. I've got a great compilation, actually, of their first few singles. I can't quite remember what it's called. But even the look of them, I even had their logo hand drawn onto the back of my denim jacket at school. And I do follow Sean on Twitter and he follows me. But that would be pretty cool to get a couple of Soup Dragons up with us. For me personally, anyway.
Yeah. Nice one. Well, look, I'm hoping for good weather and good vibes and look forward to seeing you in Glasgow, Rick. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Paul. Cheers, mate.
Bye now.